This one I sing on the street a lot, and I've been singing it on the street since streets were invented almost. Though I know that evening's empire has returned into sand, vanished from my hand, left me blindly here to stand, but still not sleeping. My weariness amazes me, I'm branded on my feet. I have no one to meet, and the ancient empty streets too dead for dreaming. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle, jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped, my hands can't feel the grip. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering. So if you hear vague traces of those skipping reels of rhyme to your tambourine in time, I wouldn't pay it any mind. It's just a ragged clown behind. It's just a shadow you're seeing that he's chasing. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, won't you play a song for me? In the jingle, jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me disappearing through the smoke rings of my mind, down the foggy ruins of time, far past the frozen leaves, all those haunted frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far from the twisted reach of crazy sorrow. Let me dance beneath those diamond skies with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, circled by the circus sands, with all memories and fate driven deep beneath the waves. Let me forget about today until tomorrow. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, won't you play a song for me? In the jingle, jangle morning, I'll come following you. Tambourine Man, yeah. I'm gonna switch guitars, I think.
So I guess we can start off with general questions. Where were you born?
I was born in Mason City, Iowa, north central Iowa. April of 1949, and yeah, my parents lived there. My mom was a farm girl from south of Mason City there, one of 12 kids on the farm during the Great Depression, you know. My dad, his parents came up from Mexico in about 1915 and settled in Iowa to raise a family, and one of 8 kids, my dad was, and so they were both from around Mason City area, and my dad was in WW2 in the Navy, and they met. I mean, my mom used to go out dancing all the time, all the big bands and everything, the surf and Clear Lake and whatnot. And they met and fell in love, you know. They knew a lot of the same people, you know. My dad's best friend was going out with my mom at one time, but I just, you know, he said, "How'd you get a girl like that?" You know, but he eventually ended up with her. The love and whatever it takes, I guess. Navy guys, you know, persistent. But, you know, yeah, was born up in Mason City, and my dad got a job down in Iowa Falls with the telephone company back in the early 50s. And we went down there. So from 1950 or so, I grew up in Iowa Falls, middle of the state. Middle of Iowa. I was a middle of Iowa kind of kid, and just grew up a normal life in small town USA. But Iowa Falls is a good little town. The Iowa River runs through there, and always cultivated my love for a smaller river, really, you know, but any river.
How big was your family?
Just mom and dad, my sister, who just passed away a few weeks back, and me.
So family of 4.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, see, my mom, she's still got a sister and a brother left. You know, my last 3 people on my mom's side, they're that age, and then my dad's gone. Yeah.
How long were you in Iowa Falls?
Iowa Falls, I grew up there, went to high school there, graduated from there, and until normal age, whatever the age that is, 17 or something, you know.
Where'd you go after that?
I went to a year of college in Cedar Falls, the UNI, and I realized that I'd seen enough school. I was like, I gotta go traveling. Of course, you know, back then it was we were all facing the Vietnam War to go to war, maybe or maybe not, you know, depending on your situation. And the draft was breathing down hard on everybody, and so there was choices to be made as far as what you wanted to do or what you could do or couldn't do, and so I decided to go traveling because I didn't know what was going to happen there for a while. I got out of school and I said, I got to get out of here. You know, left Iowa, and went to Colorado, New Mexico, California, traveled around out there and back and forth a few times. And then travel's expanded from there. You know, come back and forth to Iowa a few times, and back then it was time to just live your life, you know, because you didn't know how much of a free life you had left, you know. And I already had friends coming back from Vietnam that were just so messed up, or, you know, they were okay or alive, but they were messed up, you know, and it was obvious that you better make a choice, you know, with your life, or else it will be made for you, you know. Either way, it's fate and your inevitable thing, you know. But
how long were you traveling for?
Still traveling. Never quit. Well, you know, yeah, all that aside, you know, geez, Colorado, climbing mountains and having a beautiful time, you know, in the end of the 60s, it was really neat, you know, going to New Mexico and walking across deserts and things and hot springs way out in the middle of nowhere, and Colorado was great, you know, same kind of thing, hot springs out of the sides of mountains, and I lived in a teepee in a tent way up Hunter Creek Pass up there above Aspen, and you know, did adventures that I never had a chance to do anywhere else, you know, but I was wanted to get fit, climbing mountains, and change my diet, you know, went to more healthy food, and started doing yoga off in the hills. As you know, had a few people that I met. There are all these incredible people that you start meeting, and just if you go out and pursue your own life, I think you find that you meet the right people, and people that you're supposed to meet, and will lead you on your way. You know, it's just the way fate and the miracle of life works. You know, you get led further on. Well, see, ended up in Colorado. Then, I think I went back and forth to Iowa a few times, but had a Volkswagen bus for a while, you know, a little hippie bus, and and it was outrageous times, tell you. And, went back California, or New Mexico. Actually, it was California first, yeah, and worked in a health food restaurant out there in Berkeley in that area, and played music, you know, trying to nail the guitar a little better, you know. I'd grown up playing guitar, but it was a reason to get after it now, because there's, well, you're living in the age of protests and protest singing, and not just protests, but being alive singing and stuff. But there was a lot going on back then, not only politically, but just in the world, and still is. But it was good times, you know, and hard times. But substance in the music became more important to me, you know, rather than just singing pretty songs and everything that you grew up with, like, you know, nicey pop stuff. I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I think you got to translate your times that you're living through your music and stuff, and it became obvious that that was one of my callings and reasons for touring, and just going around the country and living that kind of Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan, not just a hobo lifestyle, but like a, you know, folk singer. You know, travel the world, tramp, hitchhike, walk across the country. You know, see the USA for. You know, if you're going to fight for it, you better know your country and know your neighbors and stuff. You know, but find out where you're at. You got to find yourself. I think it was the ultimate quest there. You know, climbing mountains, seeing the oceans. You know, crossing major rivers every time, and you got to find yourself. Everybody's got to find themselves. And, you know, you got to get at that young, so you got the rest of your life to live it out. You know, but I think a lot of people are screwy these days because they never go out and do that kind of thing. You know, go on a vision quest, go out there and find yourself. You know, it's not a selfish thing to do. It's a good thing to do. You got to be able to live with yourself before you can live with somebody else. You know.
The truth. At what age did music come into your life?
Well, early, very early, right from the start. Really. Well, my mom sang in the church, and we had a music store in Iowa Falls, where we got all the current 45s and 33s, you know, those albums and records back then, of course. And my dad was a good electrician, aside from all the telephone company stuff. He had a workshop in the back, and he fixed record players and TVs and whatever. He could fix anything. But she had the music store, and we sold records and record players and band reeds for the kids in high school band and stuff like that, and, you know, stuff for that, old trinkets that go along with music. But it was a music store, and you know, previous to that, I was just a regular kid. I was an altar boy at times, so I'd get to sing in the church, you know, or my mom would sing in the church with a few other gals, and they do harmony. I always thought that's really neat because they did good harmonies, and, you know, when you're a kid, you don't know what harmony is until you hear it, you know. And then we had a piano from their old, from the Depression days, the old upright piano. So when I was a little kid, I just sat next to my mom when she was playing piano, and I learned, you know, what you can visually and by ear, and she always loved to sing. Everything you ever said to my mom, she'd go off on a song about, you know. I mean, anything, you know. She had really good word retention kind of gal, you know. She's still one of the best storytellers I know. She doesn't have a voice anymore, but she's still around with us, you know. I don't know. It's great. So I'd say she was one of my main musical influences, you know. Between you know, the early church life, you know, little choirs and stuff like that, and then singing in school once in a while and stuff. But and then my buddies, when we were kids, about 10 or 11, we started learning guitar. You know, it was obviously maybe a neat thing to do. This is pre-Beatles and everything. You know, Buddy Holly, and when those guys went down, you know, in February of '59, I think it was like. Really changed the world of music too, because here's these people that were top of the whole poppy scene, and they dead in a little plane crash in Clear Lake, you know. And it's like really shook up the musical world, and you started seeing that musicians were more important than just, you know, pretty little icons or something, you know. It was a part of the American fabric, and people needed that. And, you learned that it might be an alright thing to do, and of course Buddy Holly playing a Strat guitar, you know, and I just think that it's, guitar was always calling to me anyway. When I was a real little kid, I remember seeing my first guitar in one of my old farm uncles' places. It was in the corner, and my mom always tells me back in the old days, in the Depression days, when they had, you know, family. The family would sit around the old stove and play a piano, and her dad would play the fiddle, and we taught him some of the guitar chords and piano chords, and then harmonica, and they just had a little family thing going. So it was in the blood, you know. No TV back then, you know. When we first got our first TV, black and white TV, old Admiral, and we remember seeing that for the first time. You know, it was like pretty amazing, black and white TV, and all of a sudden the world opened up in a different kind of way. You had, you know, Johnny Cash show, and, you know, eventually, you know, just different stuff that was, you know, Lawrence Welk and all that stuff. But, you know,
Everything else.
music became an exponential thing growing, and you realized a lot more about it. You learned about it, and there's so many different kinds, and